So today I'm going to show you how you can quickly and easily change your filament on a Bambu Lab A1 Mini. I'm Brogan Pratt and I've been teaching robotics and technology to students for over a decade now. So hopefully some of these tips will help get you through this process a little faster. Now the first thing you may notice is that my machine might look a little different than yours. I have taken a 3D printed adapter here and I have changed the direction of my filament roll just so that it doesn't sit on the side machine so I can get this a little closer to the wall. But in any case, it's still going to work exactly as you expect. Come down our screen, we can go ahead and tap on it to wake it up. We're going to select Filament. Then we're going to select Unload first. It's going to prepare to heat the nozzle. Then it's going to make sure it knows where the filament is inside of the extruder itself. Cut it, and then it's going to give us the access to actually pull that filament back. So we'll let this heat up. It has to get out to about 250 degrees Celsius. Right now it's sitting about 140. While it heats, one thing to know, it does not matter the brand of filament that you put in. You do not have to use Bambu Lab branded PLA, PETG, ASA, whatever it is you're printing with TPU. You can use any brand you'd like. I'm a big fan of eSun's PLA Plus. I find it's quite reliable. But Elegoo works great. Bambu Labs works great. Makerform works great. 3D Jake brand works great. There's lots of good brands out there. So once your filament gets up to, or not your filament, once the extruder gets up to temperature here, it's going to go ahead and do a little cut here, which is what this little prong is for. That's what actually cuts the end off. And now it's going to ask us to pull the filament out. So at this point, I like to grab from the back of the filament here, and we could just simply pull it out. And we can take this off of our spool here. Now, one thing that you want to do with your filament is you want to make sure that it doesn't wrap back on itself. So you always want to be using these little holes that your filament roll comes up with. Because if you put it away and it manages to wrap itself underneath one of the other lines, you're going to end up having a really bad time. So with our unload complete, we can go and tap on the screen again. We can go and select load. It's going to again heat our nozzle back up so we can go ahead and put our filament roll back onto the machine. And while it's heating, you can kind of preload that filament roll. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this back on. Take it out of my, oops, I have that on backwards. You want to think about when you're loading your filament back on, where it's going to unroll from the roll in a more convenient time, or that is not going to pull against itself. So for me, I'm going to try to have this feeding up because it's going to make it less likely to break. So at this point, you can go ahead and push this filament all the way up through that PTFE tube. You can see it coming down through the tube here. And as I push in further, eventually what's going to happen is I like to keep my fingers and I like to hold them on that filament roll as I'm pushing in, because you're going to feel that it's actually going to grab and pull up against your fingers. So you can actually rest your fingers on that filament point and it'll actually pull that in. So looking down at our screen, it's going to check if the filament was actually extruded. So if we come on over to the nozzle, we have some filament that's popped out there. So now we can come over and say that filament is extruded. You can press continue. And as I press that continue button, it's now going to purge the old filaments. We're going to see a whole bunch of filament is going to start pushing its way out of the filament head. You can see it starting to spin it up there. That's basically just getting rid of any of the old filament that used to be inside of that printer head. This part takes a little bit of a while. You can see that now it's transitioned over that light teal, and it's going to do a last little clean. And then that's it. Then the very last thing you do is you make sure that you set your PLA settings correctly. So we go ahead and tap on this edit button. You can select as you put in the correct PLA, whether it's brand. Brand, again, is not super important, but whether you're using PLA Plus or PLA itself, you can choose a color and then dynamic pressure control. I just set that at default. Color, you're welcome to change this if you need to. It's helpful to change it on color here for your AMS if you're going to be using one of those. But for me, honestly, it doesn't really matter because I know what color I have loaded into my machine. Hope you found that quick little tutorial helpful, and best of luck on your next 3D printing project.